Good morning, everybody. It's a dog with you on a Monday, the 19th of January, 2015. Happy Martin Luther King Day. A lot of you folks are off today. We're not off. We're working this show. Good morning, everybody. It's great to have you alongside. And as we always do, we always have special guests in. And without further ado, my friends are from the Seneca County Board of Supervisors who seem to come in. I want them to come in every few months to give us updates on what's happening. A lot of things have changed at the board level. We have a new chairman. New agendas, what's going to happen in 2015, what's the situation with this foreclosure of taxes, will that ever get figured out? A lot to talk about with my friend Cindy Lorenzetti. Cindy, good morning to you.
Hi, Web Dog.
It's good to have you alongside. And my good buddy Steve Churchill's inside. Steve, of course, Happy New Year. Thanks for coming in.
Same to you, Harold. Great to see you.
It's always good to have these folks on. They the inner workings, even though they are in the minority of the Board of Supervisors, which probably is a sore point with them. But hey, maybe someday in my lifetime it might switch and the Democrats might have control.
We're working on it.
I hope so. Nice to turn the power around once in a while. But, you know, they are involved in a lot of things, a lot of agenda items that they personally are following. And without further ado, let's talk about the big news. Of course, you have a new chair, which, of course, was somewhat big news. I wasn't sure about Bob Heisen's views about running again. There was talk he wanted to run again. Then I heard from the newspapers and between the lines of the Reveille that maybe he didn't want to run again. Bottom line is, Cindy, he did not get the chairmanship. It went to Don Earl. Your opinion on that? What's your feeling?
My opinion is we had an alliance of 3 Republicans and 4 Democrats that thought there was time for a change for the chairmanship, and we made our thoughts known. And I think Bob wanted the chairmanship, but he also realized at the end that he wasn't going to get the chairmanship, and basically said, you know, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And it was what it was. I mean, it's always a interesting affair when it comes down to voting for a chair, because people say one thing, they do a different thing. Supervisors will say, I'm not going to vote for this person and vote for that person. And quite honestly, at the end, they all realized who was going to win, and they jumped on and tagged in at the finish line. So it is what it is.
Well, certainly we'll get back to Cindy about her opinion of, let's talk about Bob's, let's do it now, the legacy of Bob Heisen as chair. I mean, you certainly have, and I'm not speaking out of turn here, you certainly have had your run-ins with Bob over issues and certain parliamentary procedures, which you didn't particularly care for over the last few years with Bob. What is your feeling about his role? He, 3 years as chair? He was chair 3?
Yes.
3.
You had some run-ins. I would hope that you move forward. I guess you and him will be working together as supervisors on issues that are important to Seneca County. But what is your feeling about Bob as far as the chair, what he did for the last 3 years?
Instead of answering that question, I think what I'll do is look to the future and say that I look forward to working with him now, and I actually think that we will work together more as Fayette, not him being at the realm as the board chair. I think with him down among us now, we'll work together, and I think we'll get more things done, actually.
Well, that's why Cindy's on the show. I like the way she says things.
Well, let me interject, though, because that being said, Steve Churchill, at the Board of Supervisors, sits smack dab between Cindy Lorenzetti and Bob Heisen. So this guy's probably going to get bloodied over the next year or so.
Could this be a rose between two thorns?
I don't know what it is, but it scares the hell out of me.
Give me your take on the election, Steve. When you went into the meeting, the organizational meeting, the names of Earl were being tossed around in the local media, including here. Yeah. Greg Lazzaro's name was mentioned as a potentiality of maybe vying for the title as chair.
Keith Kobasik's the guy that the Democrats really wanted.
Okay, so when you got to the meeting, you sensed there was a movement afoot that was going to change the chair.
Well, we always knew that Heisen was going to run again. I mean, that was clear. He made no indication, and he was playing it the way he's played it every other year. He comes on strong. He doesn't say anything. He kind of lays low in the weeds to see how things are settling out, and then at the last minute, he kind of, he makes his intentions known. But that said, we were trying to convince Keith to do it. He only wants to be on the board one more year. This is his last year. But he would have, I think, brought a whole lot, really good things to the board. But we couldn't get him. We couldn't get him to move, and I understand why. That said, we didn't really have what we considered to be really good choices. It's up to the Republicans. I mean, they're the ones that have the 10 votes on the board, so it's up to that caucus to decide who the candidate's going to be. Cindy's right. We did have a little leverage. since we could parley our 4 votes with 3 Republican votes. That gave us some strength. So we'll see how that comes out.
Well, knowing Bob Hyson as long as I've known him, certainly he could be termed confrontational on occasion on certain issues, and he can be stubborn on occasions, as we all know. And I say that in a favorable way. Bob is checking us out this morning on Weber This Week. Cindy Lorenzetti and Steve Churchill are my guests. Hey. Go ahead. But seriously, the election of Don Earl, and I know Don from having coffee with Don. Mm-hmm. Don strikes me as being a total polar opposite of Bob Hyson, non-confrontational. Mm-hmm. And correct me if I'm wrong about this.
Oh, I would agree 100%.
Very studious, very involved in, I watch his meetings on Channel 12, the town board meetings. And he doesn't say a whole lot. I mean, he's a very effective guy, I guess, but it's going to seem as a tremendous turnabout relative to the chair as far as the way you conduct yourself. He just seems non-confrontational on anything. Is that a fair statement? Or does he let the water just remain smooth?
No, I think he is. I think he is non-confrontational for the most part.
Yeah.
You agree, Cindy?
Oh, I agree. And again, it was time for a change, and now we'll have non-confrontational. Maybe we'll all be able to work together.
Right.
Let's see what this year brings. Neither one of us can really answer how it's going to play out, but we voted for Don. We're going to support him, and hopefully, I think that he's going to understand where we come from,
right,
and respect our opinions, and go with that.
But Bob is a powerful force, no matter what side of that bench he sits on. I mean, when he's up in the chair, to be honest with you, I think that chair calmed him a bit. What I struggle with Bob Hyson is that he held his cards a little too close for my liking. Mm-hmm. He was doing things behind the scenes, mm-hmm, and didn't really include the board. And that really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But Bob can be more controversial, I think, when he's sitting out there with the other supervisors. So Don Earl's got to hang on to his hat, because I don't think it's going to be a calm year by any year. I mean, there's going to be a lot of controversy. And I know Don, he kind of likes, kumbaya, everybody get along, let's join hands. You got 14 supervisors on there, and that's not the way it rolls. I mean, it really doesn't.
Oh, nor should it. Sometimes.
Absolutely.
Nor should it.
He's
always
the chairman, but he's not our boss.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Well, certainly, I would be remiss. Of course, a good friend of yours, Brad Jones, made a deal where he got up and spoke, and he said some pretty ugly things relative to the likes of Bob Shipley asking the board to consider removing Bob as the chair of the IAC, also attacking Frank Fisher as the county attorney over the foreclosure of the Supreme Court blow up, the snafu that is still going to linger on Cindy and myself and Steve forever, how that could have been missed. Cindy, let's be honest about this. And with all due respect to Bob Shipley and to Frank Fisher, I don't even know Frank Fisher. I wouldn't know him if I walked across the street. Is there accountability at the board level regarding that snafu? I mean, do we take the attitude of Brad Jones, who lost his seat on the committee because he was looking for a pound of flesh? I mean, or should the board move forward now, forget about what happened? It's an ugly scene that we all understand totally. How could this have happened? It did happen. Is it your view that we move on and forget about gaining some flesh over this issue? Or do you have some other opinions?
Okay, you're directing it to me.
I'm directing it to you.
So I will answer this very truthfully.
Okay, very good.
We have to move forward.
Yep.
But do I want to hold somebody? Somebody has to be held accountable. Yes, I do agree with that.
Okay.
Now, as a supervisor, and actually I didn't chair committees last year.
Okay.
For reasons.
Okay.
But when you're a chair of a committee, you do the best you can. But let's remind each other that we're all working people. Mm-hmm. We're not lawyers. We're not legal experts. So to hold a committee chair responsible, to me, is a stretch. Mm-hmm. I'm sure Bob Shipley felt bad enough, and so did we. We're both on that committee. Right. So honestly, you could hold the committee responsible also.
Right.
All I want to do, and I don't want to go back, but in August, I found I didn't. It was recommended. This man spoke to me many times. He's a huge lawyer in Washington.
Right.
He's fought the Supreme Court cases 75 times.
Yep.
For him to keep returning my calls and not be charging anything tells me that there's a case there that he wants to win. It's about the win for him, not about the money. The guy's got tons of money, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But when I said, let's have him do the brief.
Right.
Because it's like, if you're going to go to the Super Bowl, you're going to take a second-string quarterback or your first string. And Frank Fisher was very decided that Harris Beach could handle this. This was not a big deal.
Yeah.
So I know that it's not going to go well for me to say this, but if anybody should be held accountable, it's our county lawyer who gets paid to be our legal expert. And quite honestly, if anybody should have been looking at those dates and calling Phil Spillane, it should have been Frank Fisher. So I will say that. I've said that in many meetings, and yeah, believe it or not, I think he should be held accountable. He's paid to be our legal expert.
Steve?
I disagree.
Okay.
Cindy, you
What a
ignorant.
shock.
Cindy, you ignorant. No.
Oh, no.
No.
I didn't even bring the salary. But
We've interviewed several firms over the past few weeks. And
Right.
one of the things that all the legal firms are telling us that, look, managing their docket, their schedule
Right.
is never the client's responsibility, ever, ever, ever. And that's what we got to say about this. I mean, it wasn't Frank's responsibility. This was totally mismanaged by Harris Beach. They've essentially blamed it on this printing outfit, and that's wrong. They need to take 100% responsibility for it. But it's not. It's nobody on our boards or at the county levels. In my estimations, it's fault at all. Should we have been watching? In retrospect, absolutely.
I
But
think phone
hindsight's
calls.
20/20.
So we can argue here. It's
Sure.
okay.
But the problem
That's
is
what the name of the show is,
Phone
man.
calls should have been made, though.
Phone calls, but
in Seneca County. How's it going? How's the filing? You got it ready? And
Yep.
quite honestly, there were law firms that said they should have had it in 2 weeks before,
Well,
not
but
waiting
here's
till
the
the
point.
final
Here's
day.
the point. The date was miscalculated. Once the date was miscalculated,
done.
you could call and say, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, we're 2 weeks ahead of time." Well, you're not 2 weeks ahead of time because they miscalculated the date. Even if they had filed 2 weeks before the November 19th date, it still would have been late. So it didn't matter. I mean, they miscalculated the date from the get-go. It wasn't so much the end date. They miscalculated the start date is what screwed them up. So.
Yeah.
There was no fixing it. I mean, it was that train was headed off the cliff the minute it left the station.
The people of this county have a right to be upset. And,
Absolutely.
there's
yeah.
a conspiracy. Nobody likes to hear that word. They all shy away from a conspiracy theory. There's questions that'll never be answered. So you guys figure it out. Okay.
I got to admit, I've told you both, I'm a court watcher. I spend time at Judge Bender's court. I don't go in there with the orange uniform on. I go in there as a spectator to watch the court unveil in front of me. I've always admired attorneys, how they handle themselves in court, and I like what Bender does. By the way, we got Judge Bender coming on, by the way. March 2nd, he'll be in the booth. He'll be on the couch. Wow. Hopefully, with his schedule, it could be a cancellation. I understand that. But he has agreed to come on this show on March the 2nd, so make a note of that. I guess, I take the view of when I was with Gould's, I was in charge of customer service for the Water Technologies Group down on Bayard Street. And you're right, Cindy, when I had a major project that was demanded by my higher-ups and that it had to be steadfast given to you or Steve, if you're my higher-ups, on a certain date, I would make a note and put it in my planner and put it in my email system. But I also went out and told 2 of my reports to remind me of such a date that had to be in case I was on vacation or playing golf, which I did a lot. And my point was, there's always another second or third connection to an important project. What more important of a project was to submit paperwork to the Supreme Court of the United States of America? To your point, Cindy, I have to admit, I'm a Miners Academy grad, and I wasn't a very good student. I totally agree with that. You've heard this story 1,000 times. But, folks, I still am amazed that it happened. I really am. I am totally amazed.
There's just no good explanation.
With all due respect, I didn't take a shot at our local courts. I probably did in one of my letters to the editor. With all due respect, it's not like handing a piece of paper to the courthouse over at St. Pat's, And with all due respect to the judges over there, but the Supreme Court, And by the way, they said, no, we're not going to take it after David Dresser wrote the letter. So that didn't surprise me either.
Well, they weren't going to take it. Paul Clement said, if you're late, folks. You don't go up to the Supreme Court and say, sorry, we did a mistake. You're done.
I know.
You're done.
You're
and
toast.
That's exactly why there should have been more follow-up and people held accountable, quite honestly. But that's my opinion. I'll never change it.
Hey, that's why you're on the show here. That's why we always have you in, and along with Steve. And Cindy was excited about an issue, and Steve took the opposite view. Okay, so I like that.
Yeah.
That's why they're on the couch. Cindy Lorenzetti, Steve Churchill on Weber this week. You never worry about controversy. We're going to ask him about It's almost 10 of already. We're going to talk about their agenda items. What are they looking forward to? Steve wants to talk a little bit about Seneca Lake, and we'll get to that. Take a quick break and come back, a couple sports notes, and then we'll go back to him on the couch. This is Weber This Week on Martin Luther King Day. Cayuga Lake National Bank. Bill Ryan and his team for all of your banking needs. Offices in Union Springs and Aurora. A fine sponsor of this show for over 30 years. DA Liquors, Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her great team will find that right spirit for you every time. Tell Amy the dog sent you. Steve Wadhams, Wadhams Enterprises, your employer of choice. Proud supporter of this show and local athletics. Bob and Leslie Oman, owners of the Oman Theater, and Lions as well as the Newark Pilots, a minor league baseball team with a major league ballpark. SenecaFallsCountryClub.com, awesome 18-hole layout, offering a 12-month payment plan. Wilson Press, WPress.com, Seneca Falls, Rich Ricky, my good friend, and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs.
We got to talk about the lake.
We're back. And we have all kinds of action going here. Listen, it's Weber This Week on a Monday the 19th. Hope you are having a good Monday. Cindy Lorenzetti along with my buddy Steve Churchill are joining us. A couple of quick sports notes, then we'll get back to the fine folks. They continue their battles. By the way, New England, Seattle, 2 chalks. I know Cindy's going to pass out, but unfortunately, they were considered the chalks going in. They are going to the Super Bowl. I must admit, by the way, the Las Vegas line is, we always like to talk about that because some people like to make a small wager. Even. So no points. Flip a coin. The odds makers are saying it's an even game. It may change by a point or so before game time, which we all know wait for 2 agonizing weeks before the big game. And then, of course, on Super Bowl Sunday, we wait 12 hours for the game.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
And by the way,
Saturday.
Now, I know, taking no shots at Cindy and the Packers. I have some great friends that are Packer fans. I can understand why you're wearing black today, folks. In my view, I've been watching sports since I was 7 at 63 years, and April 29th, if I make it, to be 7-0, oh, God. I got to tell you, in all honesty, this has to be the top 3 worst collapses of all time. Yeah. It has to be. Yeah. You watch that game, and if you muted the game, folks, there's no way you don't think that game's 37-0. They controlled the line of scrimmage. They defended the Wilson. They had him in the pocket. They had him running scared, man. I mean, they shut down Lynch. And Aaron Rodgers up and down the field. I mean, come on. Did you ever think for one moment that Seattle could come back? No. They get the 2-point conversion. Yeah. That pass reminded me of Katie Stanton playing with Jack Stubbs. And how does a Seattle kid catch it? Now we got to go back and do an onside kick. Yeah. Statistically, by the way, I was telling Jimmy, I checked it this morning so I could be accurate about this, which I want to be on this show. What percentage of times do you think an onside kick is successful? Let me pose this to Cindy.
Should have looked for it.
What do you think the percentage is for an onside kick to be successful?
I would say they're slim, but
honestly, what would you say percentage-wise?
I don't know, 3%?
Steve?
20.
8%.
8?
92% of the time, it doesn't work. Yeah. It worked yesterday, and that Packer kid had his hands on the ball.
Yeah.
And that slipped through his hands. And then they go down, and they take the lead. And Green Bay, to their defense, they come back and tie it up. They do. And then, of course, the bomb in overtime.
It was a game.
It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. Top 3 of all-time collapses. Yeah. And
exciting football.
You think of Green Bay now, I'll be thinking of Vince Lombardi, and I'll be thinking of January 18, 2015. It's weird.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about SU. Cindy's got her adorned with her SU clothes because Jimmy being a graduate there. I said it weeks ago. I said it when you were on the air before. In my view, I don't follow SU basketball like you and Jimmy do. As Cooney goes, so goes Syracuse. If Cooney is not making 3 points and it's colder than a brickyard, it ain't going to happen. He didn't have a 3, did he, against Clemson? 0, Jimmy says. They're not going to beat many people. And Cindy, I know it had to be a tough loss. And Jimmy, you were talking before we went on air this morning. Yeah. Joseph's not performing as well, and they got some real issues.
It's not just Cooney. If Michael Benajay or Cooney make a few shots, it's probably a different game. But it was horrible. That's one of the worst Syracuse games I've seen in 30 years.
It was tragic.
It was sick.
You got to win that game.
And if we win that game when the AP poll comes out today, we're probably back in it. but instead we're out. But
back
we're
of
only
us.
one game back of the lead in the ACC, but we really haven't played the upper half
I was
yet.
going to say, we
The upper
haven't
half.
went there yet.
The higher
Yeah.
echelon. Tough
Sometimes
loss.
they play better, though, when they have a harder team. I don't know. They just kind of like ran out of energy. They had 3 games right in a row.
Yeah.
But the only thing I can say is they're young and
There's only 8 of them.
I know.
Not even.
Well, that usually is typical what he would play anyway. But
True,
the
but
thing
we're
is,
not without our good. I mean, our
Yeah.
7th guy right now off the bench is B.J. Johnson, and our 8th is Chinoso Oboko. So we're essentially 6 deep.
What has to happen is the NCAA has to think of changing the rules and not letting anybody opt out until their junior year. Or college basketball is going to be this.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about this yesterday at a family gathering, and it's like, and it's not even playing anywhere.
I know.
How many times when they go out do they actually get a good NBA status and actually play? Not many. Not many.
But you
He did
mentioned
get paid,
that.
Carmelo.
though.
You mentioned about opting out, waiting till the junior year.
They should make a rule.
Some legal scholars said it's illegal. The Supreme Court would never rule in that favor. They would say you have a right to
Opt out.
opt out and make money in this world.
Sure.
You know what I like?
Called capitalism.
I think
Bingo.
that you should be able, if you're Tyler Ennis last year, you can put your name in the draft, but you can say, I'm going to put my name in the draft, but I'm not going to actually go pro until 2017. But you can draft my rights now, and then, their contract is secured. They can come back and play for Syracuse, not get the money yet.
Right.
I think that would be a good idea. But, yeah, this team was meant to have Tyler Ennis be the point guard
Yep.
and Joseph the backup.
Yep.
And it's not.
And
then
Jeremy Grant left. Right?
Yeah, and then
And
McCullough
where's
gets
he
hurt.
going?
And McCullough gets
Where's
hurt.
he going in NBA?
Yeah, I know.
Whatever it is, the money. It's always the money.
Hey, by the way,
I'd have a tough time
Yeah.
turning down that money if I was either one of those
it's a lot
kids.
of cash. We're not talking $50.
But I'd
here.
also love to play in the Dome another year and try to get
Get
Syracuse
an
back to a
education.
Final
Get a free
Four.
education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, by the
That's
way,
40 grand a year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
40,
by the way,
50.
And rising.
The Fab Four girls locally in high school basketball, a lot of credit goes out to girls basketball. It's taken leaps and bounds. It's a great sport to watch. And 4 girls locally just got their 1,000-point milestone, which is a phenomenal thing. And I want to send out kudos on my show this morning to Zoe McDonald out in Romulus. What an outstanding athlete she is. She just collected her 1,000th point. Sheon McLeod of Wayne also achieved that milestone. Mia Morrison, Geneva girl. Congratulations to Mia. She got the 1,000. And Chelsea Steinruck, Waterloo girl, she just got the 1,000. So to the Fab Fours, I'm calling them this morning. Kudos to all of you for the hard work you put in, and that is fantastic. By the way, speaking of basketball, the Romulus girls team won the state championship last year under Damon Nicholson and his coaching staff. A lot hasn't been forgotten about what a great year they've had this year. With only 1 loss to Dundee, they have been playing sensational basketball. To Damon and to all the girls, they lost a lot of that team that won the state championship. They have played extremely well, only losing 1 game, so congrats to them. And by the way, Jimmy's got the play-by-play tomorrow night of a great game. Miners Academy 5-1 in league play, Newark 6-0. Jimmy will have the call tomorrow night. Miners travels to Newark. Should be a barn burner, Jimmy. Should be a great broadcast.
Yeah, I can't wait. It sets
be a
up
great
nice. Minders beat Pelmac on Friday, which
Yep.
was, I don't want to say a little bit of surprise, but I think that we were thinking Pelmac might win that game. So that sets up this game. With first place on the line in the Finger Lakes East. And, for Minders, they got a great record, but a lot of those wins came from teams with losing records. That
Right.
Pelmac game was the first marquee win.
Yep.
So we'll see if Minders can handle the full court pressure that Newark's going to bring, and if Liam Caraher and Devin Verkey can make some shots. And,
Yep.
and Newark has the best player in the league, and Tyler Collins, the point guard.
Yep.
So certainly it'd be a great game to watch from Newark.
Well, listen, as we've got a little bit of time left, Stevie, before I go back to Cindy, you brought in a chart about a passion of yours regarding Seneca Lake. I hate to say it, can you briefly give us a rundown of where you are with this project and tell our viewers what's on that you've been following?
Well, I can't do it briefly.
I know you can, but go ahead and give it.
But
go ahead and give it to us.
But yeah, I've got all kinds of paperwork here and graphs, but I'm not
Yep.
going to use any of that because
Okay.
we don't have time.
All right.
Next time we come on your show, it does
Okay.
need to be an hour show.
All right. Okay. We'll book it. We'll book it.
But
Dan.
yeah, and it's not just a passion of mine. It's
Yep.
it's about the future of the Finger Lakes, in my estimation, and I think Cindy agrees with me on this one wholeheartedly.
Definitely.
We've both been working on it. She's been working on it as well. But I think most people are aware of the proposal to store LP gas in abandoned salt caverns on the shores of Seneca Lake down near Watkins Glen. That said, we opposed it as a full board, the first municipality to oppose it just about 2 years ago. Since then, there are 17 municipal communities that have passed opposition or resolutions in opposition, including the city of Rochester a couple weeks ago. All four Yates, Ontario, Seneca, Tompkins County around the lakes. Schuyler County obviously is in favor of it. But for us, it's about proximity. It's about location. Storing these gases right on the shores of the lake makes no sense. They store them in 31 other locations around the state. We don't know why 32 is the magic number, but there was one graph I had, and it's very compelling because what it shows is the amount of chloride in.
You put that up there, Steve.
In Seneca Lake, and it's really the one that gets it sells most people on the issue. There's two slides here, and these are per Dr. John Halfman, who is Finger Lakes Institute, Hobart William Smith. That big green bold line on this side here, this side, is Seneca Lake compared to the other 10 Finger Lakes as far as chloride goes.
Amazing.
I mean, by comparison, it is far saltier than any other lakes.
Huh.
And this graph at the top, which is kind of busy, but it shows the chloride from 1900 to the present, and you see that big spike in the middle. Well, that's 1964, and that's the first year they started storing LPG in these caverns.
Wow.
A company called TEPCO stored 3 million gallons there for 20 years, stopped in 1984. So there hasn't been any LPG stored since 1984. That was 3 million gallons. Today they're proposing to store, out of the gate, 88 million gallons.
So you think those high levels are still as a result of that storage that ended in 84?
Absolutely. Halfman will tell you that whatever happens to that lake, if you stopped everything, salt production, they do a lot of salt mining over there. Certainly some of that gets in there. But whatever you do to that lake takes 100 years for it to get back to where it was.
Wow.
So that big spike, in order for it to totally settle out, would be 100 years from 1964. Now, did it cause it? We aren't saying that storing those fuels caused that spike. Because you can't make that direct correlation.
Okay.
But what you can say is they stored fuels in 1964 under pressure, and oh, by the way, we had a huge spike in salt in the lake. So did it cause it? We don't know. Kind of feels like it may have been a contributing factor. And is it worth the risk again today? Absolutely not. The other thing that Halfman says is very compelling is if he had a child right now under the age of 1 year old, he would not allow them to drink Seneca Lake water.
Wow.
And I'm talking water that comes out of the water treatment plant in Geneva. It's they do not remove sodium and chloride. And the EPA and the DEC have a warning level of 20 parts per million, and currently the lake's sitting at about 80.
Yeah.
Cindy, as you look forward to this year, what is there one passion that you want to get involved in that you're currently involved in to see come to fruition? Is there something that really is on the top of your list of agenda items for your personal views?
Well, right now at the top of the list, because of what time frame we're in, would probably be the Cayuga Indian Nation.
Right.
We need to find a lawyer to litigate and bring it back to the point that we had, which Mr. Clement said. There's other options. You need to find them and start back over with it. And we also need to find a lawyer, a legal firm that will litigate against terror speech. We always, and my opinion is we need to go out of state for that, because there's to have somebody in the state litigate against a big law firm that's in Albany, Rochester, New York City, I just don't think is smart.
Well, February 20th, they're going to make an announcement. Who's the leader?
Yep.
Clean Halftown, Unity Council.
Yeah.
Bob Heisen commented to me the other day about shutting down Route 89 because of the scare factor that may develop when that decision comes down. Are you in agreement that there might be some real issues when that decision from the BIA shows up on the doorstep?
Most definitely.
So there could be some really concerns.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a powder keg down there in a lot of ways. I mean, those.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
They believe, the Native Americans believe that they have a reservation already. Nobody can tell them that they don't, although they don't. And so they act that way. I mean, if you go down there, they feel like you're on their land, even driving through. So, and there's a lot more down there. A lot of Native Americans from all over the state have come in to defend the two factions.
I know.
So it's not a good situation.
And let's throw, fault at somebody else as the state of New York, the governor, because let me tell you, we could have went in and they shut down Skydancer, but then they let Lakeside alone, and it's like nobody understands that.
Sense.
Plus, we don't collect the sales tax on the gas and the cigarettes.
Right.
But yet, they want to tell our municipalities to stay under a 2% tax cap. Okay? It's just not fair. And it starts right in Albany.
By the way, before I let you go, and we're obviously running past 10 o'clock, but let me ask you a question. County manager's job, here today, gone tomorrow. Been the scenario now at the county board.
Yeah.
You hire somebody, they're capable, they're qualified, they got good resumes, but they're not from the general area. They're from outside of the area, basically, in a lot of cases. They hang around for 6 months, a year, and they say goodbye-bye. They got a better opportunity. I'm not taking a shot at the one that's leaving, but a letter came in, I guess a letter to the editor, stating that maybe we could be better off at the board level to hire somebody that lives in the area, that maybe wouldn't be opting out of here every 6 months or a year for a better opportunity, so you could have consistency and continuity. Cindy, your view on that. Are we having issues with county managers here today, going tomorrow?
We certainly are.
Is that an issue? I mean,
that is an issue.
What about
that
Doug Marone? Let's hire Doug Marone.
But I mean, Steve, I mean, it seems like you would lose continuity at the board level if you keep replacing managers.
Absolutely. Well, you know, I can only speak. I was on the search committee a time before, not this last time, and we received 46 resumes.
46.
And not too many come from anybody local.
Okay.
But then when you get them, I mean, you have to evaluate them to some sort of criteria.
I understand.
And to be honest with you, nobody locally actually met the criteria.
Wow.
Maybe we set the bar too high, but you know, it's tough. It's tough to. It's about money, right? I mean, if people want us to pay them $150,000, I'm sure they're going to stick around. But
yeah, I understand.
I think though that I think I'm on the search committee for now. And I think that we'll take a look at anyone. I certainly understand where people say local, they have skin in the game, and hopefully they're going to stay. We'll do the best we can for that. But the last search committee that I was on, we didn't get a whole lot of resumes that we looked at. I think there were maybe 6 or 7. And we seem to get good people, but they don't want to stay, and they go for the higher money. And
I just can't blame them. I can't. No. If you're getting $95,000, somebody offers $125,000. That's $30,000. That's a lot of cash.
Right.
I think you'd owe it to. Give us a couple years, though. I think that should be part of it.
Yeah, I think so, too. That's probably not a bad
idea. We're looking
idea.
into that option if there's possible way that we can. I mean, when we hire a county manager, we have to give them 4 years, We can't get rid of them. So maybe there's some
go the
legal...
other way, too.
Exactly. To some point, to some extent, yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, we could go on till noon. Unfortunately, we have to go on to other programming. Again, it's always great having you in, and maybe we'll take you up on that hour show. How's that?
Absolutely. I do want to give one plug, though.
Okay.
Regarding the LPG storage, there's going to be a rally on Seneca Lake Saturday, January 31st.
They're going to meet at the visitor center.
Yeah, I don't know all the specifics, but they're going to be out there. There's going to be a rally. So folks that want to come and support that effort.
And 31st. Speaking of not the same topic, Cindy, I understand the Fayette board's having some issues with head count. You got some injuries or sicknesses out there I've been reading about?
Yeah.
How's that shaping up?
We're hopefully February, but we had some sickness on the board. We had to cancel a few meetings. But
see, who says I don't? Who says I don't follow you?
Yeah.
All right, Cindy Lorenzetti and Steve Churchill. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you,
Harold.
Right. Look forward to having you back and hang in there with SU. And she'll get over to Green Bay loss in about 7 months. No, it's just
that
kidding.
was my husband, but
whatever. Hey, listen, it's the Lorenzetti family, folks. Don't worry. We got a big high school basketball game around. I figure like One TV. We'll have it. Jimmy will be calling it play-by-play, working with Jeremy Hunt. Will be producing the show tomorrow. Who you got doing his commentator tomorrow?
Matt Verke.
Oh, the legendary Matt Verke. And, of course, Dennis Lay and Jason Hunt will be also doing camera work. Miners Academy travels to Newark, 6-0 versus 5-1. Should be a great game. If you can't get to Newark, check us out here at Finger Lakes One TV. We'll be on the air about 7:20-ish. Check us out for exciting high school basketball. Take care, everybody. Next week, the Beauty and the Beast show. The dog is the beast. We have Mrs. America, Jessica Lar from Geneva, coming on the couch. Oh, she's gorgeous. All right, she's coming in. We had her daughter in today. No, just Cindy. No, all right, we got that show coming up next week. Mrs. New York, Jessica Lar from Geneva, and then of course the following week we'll have Joe and Kelly Cosentino, Blossoms by Cosentino, talking about their big day coming up, Valentine's Day. Take care, everybody, and hey, early happy birthday to my wife Mary, who celebrates another year this coming Friday. Happy birthday, Mary. That's a look at Weber this week. My way.
you run rocks.
Like this by becoming a patron of FingerLakes1.com. Visit patreon.com/FL1. FingerLakesWine.com